All right, well, welcome to the ViewPlus Technologies overview webinar. So this one's, we just did one with about 30 something people in it last hour, and I recognized a lot of the names in there. So I guess I recognize a few of you. But please, if you do have questions, you can unmute your mic. I believe you can unmute your own mic. I don't have them locked, or you can type stuff in the chat window, and then I'll try to glance over there without getting interrupted. And let's see, you should be seeing my screen. Yes. And yeah, being web. So yeah, so coming to you live today from Corvallis, Oregon, where we are pretty much shut down with the COVID-19 stay-at-home orders. So I'm, though I think one of two people that's in the office today, just because I think the bandwidth here is better, and my office at home is even messier than my one here, and luckily you can't see enough of it on the video camera to do this. So okay, thanks. So it sounds like video and audio are coming through, and you say I'm used to doing this kind of stuff live and in person, so I'm learning as I go. This more virtual thing, it's been about two and a half years since I've done a webinar, but I've been doing this kind of a presentation at lots of AER and other trade shows. So I'm trying to share some of the tips and tricks in this quick webinar, and kind of let you know what we have available and how we might be able to help. And again, would love to collaborate if you have other ideas on things that are working or that you're seeing that are beneficial, and we can help share the thing. I mean, we did, I think our email list is of actual people that actually open it is about 16,000, so it's a pretty good reach around the globe. So we are getting a fairly good response. Yes, I thank you for coming, since we just started doing this. We put out the call on Thursday last week, so it's very, very encouraging to see as many of you attending. And maybe I should have done this a long time ago. But we're going to be kind of going over some of the new things, and this is our virtual trade show booth. So since we did go to ATIA this year, we did go to CSUN, but we probably shouldn't have. CSUN ended up shutting down half a day early for those of you that weren't there, and luckily none of us brought back any COVID viruses. But we did enjoy getting out a half a day early and getting home before midnight, but it was a little bit slower traffic, so we're trying to replicate virtual trade shows. So if anybody is doing those or here's something that works, I'd be very interested. And so showing what's new, we have some announcements that just went live today, as well as kind of how we're doing math, Braille, Tatra Graphics, and some of the cool tips and tricks. So some of the highlights that I get from the wow factors that I get from some of the other presentations that I've been doing, and then sharing what resources that we know about. So I will jump into this, and this is being recorded, and in your materials section, oh no, I had to upload those from the other. Okay, well, I will upload the presentation and the PDF, the PowerPoint and the PDF version of the presentation into this training materials section. I guess I got the first one. I thought they were linked together. So yeah, the recording of this will be available, as well as the presentation. So ViewPlus started by my father. He's still going strong, although he and my mom are staying at home right now to avoid contact with those of us that are still carefully going to the grocery store and things. But so yeah, so it started when he went blind as a physicist and could not find any way to access data. And I think it's really grown to where what we're really seeing now is that we're seeing a lot of people, uh, there's, I guess to me, we'll know where we've reached the transition when we start seeing kids get done with high school and know how to use their printer. So that's really what we're pushing for now, is moving beyond just it being stored in a closet, that only the teachers have access to, but trying to see where more kids can get access to it and use it to help both collaborate as well as generate their own materials. So, but we started as a Tatra Graphics company and have grown into a Braille company as well. Although I'm sure that if there's any transcribers on the call, that you guys are way better at that than I am. But we do have some tips and tricks for when you run into problems. So I guess I'm more of the problem solver than just cranking out Braille all day long, or proofreading it for sure. I'm a little bit slower. Okay. So yeah, so we started as a Tatra Graphics company, and we still feel they're important because there's a lot of things that a picture is worth 1,000 words. I mean, the fun factor is about getting kids involved in using it early because it is a learned skill. So having some fun things like the snowman from the APH Tatra Graphics image library, you know, getting access to materials that would replicate what the other kids are doing, and especially in the mainstream classroom. So being able to do coloring pages with tactile, so that they can color, so the blind students can color along with their sighted kids. We do a whole presentation on just keeping the curiosity alive, for young blind learners, just on how you can quickly do labels, how you can do coloring pages, all sorts of different little fun things to get engaged. But they're learning the skill, because later on, especially in the STEM subjects, that STEAM is just is STEM plus art. But for the science, technology, engineering, and math curriculums, I don't know how you would do it without having some tactographics. And if they get thrown into it in the middle of high school, having never had access to it, it's just not going to go as smoothly as if the students have had access to tactographics along the whole time. So, and it can actually be pretty fun. So to me, this is something that I think a lot of what we have is easy enough that other kids are pretty technology savvy. Other kids in their classroom can be helping to create some of these things or find some of these things. It's just how well you can use Google to find what you need and just print it out. And so we're seeing a lot of that where, the other school kids, the parents, or some of the teaching assistants, they're well, I can't say I'm not young anymore either, but the younger they are, the less technology afraid they are, it seems. So, and the fact that now that we're supporting printing from tablets and phones and other things too, that there's no reason why the students, blind students, can't get done with high school and be ready to go off to college, being able to be much more self-sufficient, um, since when they move away from having, a whole team of people to help them, to going off to the workplace or college where they may have very little support. So yeah, I mean, ViewPlus has been around now for 20 years as a company. We've been looking at the technologies, well, since my dad went blind, or at least a year or so. So around from like 1990 or so, been looking at different technologies. But we started as a history of innovation, right? Everyone said my dad was crazy for wanting to do tactile graphics or trying to do any kind of refreshable graphics. Um, and so that we started as a crazy idea, and you know we've turned it into a business. So part of it is, yes, we had to learn Braille. That was something that none of us knew anything about, and we've come a long way, but we still were always had the graphics focus. uh, and then adding in the ink, just because we saw that, with especially in higher level science, you need to collaborate with others, and the materials need to be usable for a sighted person or a blind person, and so that's where the ink comes along. And then most recently, we've been adding the mobile printing aspects, so that uh, you can print from iOS or Android devices, and we'll go into more of that. But as part of that innovation, we had to also create software to enable you to use Tatra Graphics and mix it with Braille. Since even today, the third-party offerings are much more limited than we would like. And my dad's passion project is still the audio tactile images. So that's for, yeah, and we'll go over to that a little bit more as well. And well, just today we've launched a bunch more content, but we've always have a bunch of examples on our website, as well as in our YouTube channel. So trying to put in quick little how-tos, especially when people send in thoughts and ideas. Those are really helpful for us, of things that you'd like to see and would are having trouble doing. Just send stuff into support@viewplus.com and you'll get an answer back directly. But if we see enough, we'll also, at the same question, then we'll also just share those across on our little how-to channel, or how-to playlist, sorry, on YouTube. Primarily, we sell printers that print Braille and ink. Our newest 2 units, the generation 2 of the Columbia and Delta, we worked on those last summer. We still have the production machines and the Premier and Elite, which have the option of black ink. The Max is still the cult favorite for a great little Tatra Graphics machine, or a great Tatra Graphic machine. The Imbrail is the great little home machine. And then the Spot Dot is the only one with the color and Tatra Graphics ink. I won't spend a lot of time on this. This is available on our website as well, in the product selector options under the printers. But we will go a little bit over. So if you'll notice, the Tiger printers, as most people know, ViewPlus is the Tiger printer company. I will spend a little bit of time on Tiger versus Tiger Plus a little bit later on. So the Tiger software suite, nicknamed TSS, is primarily 3 tools, historically 3 tools. It's the Tiger add-on for Word and Excel to allow Braille, text to Braille conversions and document formatting. So this is really our Braille translator built into Word and Excel, which allows you to mix Braille and Tatra Graphics and tables, and Word's it's not maybe the easiest program to use, but it's a lot easier than some of the other specialty drawing programs like Illustrator or Photoshop or Corel Draw, or specialty tactile products that you have to use for other people. But so primarily it's the Excel and Word for Braille transcription, for Braille translation, and then Tiger Designer is our paint for tactile graphics. So if you want to just start with simple drawings, or what I most often use it for is to fix up or clean up or add fill to stuff that you printed it from Word. I didn't quite get what I wanted. I just want to move a few things around or clean up a few things. If you're doing something that's going to a lot of people as opposed to just quick and dirty for one person, then Tiger Designer is pretty handy, because you can move stuff at a dot level, as well as change the dot heights and things like that. So it's a useful program, but I think that you don't need to start there. Starting just with Word is probably the easiest starting point. Or if you're not even using any Braille, then just printing from even your photo editor or phone. So as I said, Aveo is our brand name for our audio tactile learning system and creation of the audio tactiles. So if you've seen us ever at shows, you've probably seen us doing the water cycle demonstration program. But really, it's, if you don't have even a Braille, if the person isn't even a Braille reader, you can still get quite a bit of. It's designed that you don't need Braille to get as much out of it as whether you have Braille or not. So really embedding text as audio, with a screen reader to do the audio conversion. So it's just an instrumented Tatra graphic that you lay down on a touchpad. So you can have sound effects, you can have a lot of data that's in there as text. And so it's the innovations over the years just made it much quicker to both simplify the image as well as add in the information to create your own audio tactiles. And you can say you can demonstrate them even without the touchpad, just with your on your screen with your mouse, from the examples that are on our website. And I can show you later if that's what we want. I say I'll try to leave some time at the end for any additional demo requests or deeper questions. We do also have our audio graphing calculator. I will show you some of the third-party calculators that are maybe a little bit more modernized, but this one is actually pretty nice. It's simple enough to figure out how to sonify the plots, and you can add in tables of data or write equations, and it does print to our printers as well, and actually exports out to the back to the Aveo product as well. So there are some. It is a nice product. There are some other ones that you may be using for other purposes. This is a specific for kind of building, an audio graphing calculator. But there are some other mainstream tools that I'll talk about a little bit later that I discovered while doing our math workshops. But the big news was over the last summer was spent really working on the Braille dot from the Columbia 2 and the Delta 2. Like I said, we've had, ViewPlus, people know us as Tiger, which isn't, I don't remember what all it stands for, but it essentially stands for Tatra Graphics. And the original Tiger products are all, they're all based on a 20 dpi locked grid, so that you get the triangular or Tiger dots. They're more densely, you can pack them closer together in order to do, so they're great for graphics. And most people didn't mind the Braille, but the overall part was that people really, but they were also much more expensive to produce for us. So the goal was to do a Braille printer that would also do reasonable Tatra graphics. And so that was the idea behind the Columbia and the Delta. And they did well, but the feedback was that the Braille could be better. Especially Braille was beating me up all the time over our Braille dot, so they showed me what their Braille dot looked like and how they made it. And I spent last summer with the machine shop around the corner drilling out different cups to try and get the what I had interpreted was the right Braille dot. So it's really the strongest Braille dot of any of the desktop Braille printers, with a nice rounded shape, and really proved that out when I went and found some of our my favorite test subjects at ATIA this year and asked them to read the Braille, and when they could fly over it, I knew I had the right dot. So the quality of the Braille is directly correlates for a skilled Braille reader as to how fast they can read it. And so that was, I think that to me, that was the crowning the crowning achievement, was that the work of the whole summer to do this was in January, where it saw that it delivered exactly what we thought it would. Still can do the multi-dot height graphing things, but the big difference between Tiger and Tiger Plus uses the rounded dot, so they can't be quite as close together, but they're on a 100 dpi grid rather than the fixed 20 dpi grid. So you get rounder curves and diagonals without stair steps and things like that, which tactily usually don't make a big difference. But as far as I don't know, they're different. They're not one's not necessarily better than the other. If you're used to the Tiger technology, people tend to stay with it because they've been doing predominantly graphics. If you're coming over from a Romeo or a Juliet or a Basic D or a Everest, the graphics on this are so much easier and so much better with the multi-dot height, and the Braille is now, we're hearing book quality. So so you get the best Braille and the best Tatra graphics for the price, and because it's compared to the competition in this market, it's better, faster, cheaper, quieter, and probably something else. But so it's, this is something. And again, we work with Braille. They showed me and our engineers. We kind of talked about how they're delivering their Braille dot, and how they do the technology behind it. We didn't really do anything with like their technology, but we just really talked to them about how our technology and what we could do to potentially do that. So they were very helpful. We work closely with them because we do believe that they have some of the best products for high volume printing out there, and they would not really truly kind of, until we improved our Braille dot, they didn't really want to be connected to us, but now they're more than happy to. Now that they've seen what we've done with the Power Dot in the Delta and Columbia Generation 2s. Tiger Box is something we've been working on for a couple of years. This is, again, part of the enabling people to print Braille for themselves, and also kind of help dispel some of the rumors that some of this stuff is hard. So this sets up your hook, works with any of our ViewPlus printers. You might need to do a firmware upgrade, but it sets it up to where you have an AirPrint compatible wireless print device. So once you get it onto your network or connect to it directly, you will see two printers there, one Tiger and one Braille. So the Braille version will take any text that you send to it, or extract any text out of any documents you send to it, and convert it to Braille. And the Tiger printer will convert any graphics and print them as Tatra Graphics. So directly from your iPhone or your Android tablet or your Samsung Galaxy, whatever you have, any of the modern devices that their applications support printing, which is anything in the last year or two, either Android or iOS, almost all the apps have some sort of print support. If they have any kind of print support, you don't have to have special embosser support or anything else. It's just, it'll do it all on the fly for you. And so that's something that, again, is where I've kind of tested it live, never knowing exactly what to get. But it was in LA a couple of years ago at a trade show where a blind student walked up and was wanting to know if he could print out the walking directions to dinner, because he was afraid where we were, there was really bad cell reception, as well as his battery was dying. So he wanted to make sure he had a backup copy. And I said, I don't know, let's try it. So he hooked up to our network and was able to print from his email program the walking directions in Braille. And he was just bouncing up and down because it's like, I never even thought this would be possible ever. This is so cool. I don't know how I could justify buying this, but I want it. So that kind of stuff is what lights us up at ViewPlus, is knowing that we can help people be more self-sufficient and do what we can, as well as help get materials to them that they don't have access to otherwise, and doing that as quickly as possible. Because again, if it has to take 6 months to hand draw a drawing or something, it's just not going to fly. Versus if you got 5 minutes to do something, and that was the whole basis of my Tatra Graphics in Minutes presentation, was spending no more than like 90 seconds on what I was told were the most common types of images that kind of, I guess, more grade school, so maybe K through middle school, kindergarten through middle school type things, like Braille thermometers, clocks, rulers. I don't even remember what all stuff, but I mean, just things that you could do, so I gave myself like 90 seconds per drawing to get something out, and then tested it on the crowd, and I guess I passed okay. So TSS 7 went live today. So this is something that we were working on for quite a while. The main Word and Excel and Tiger Designer parts of it haven't changed much. When we did under the hood some things. So the main thing on the Word translator is that it now has a status bar. So for long translation jobs, it doesn't just sit there looking like it's like it's hung up. It gives you a status bar coming across telling you how progress is going. But for the quick paw is something that people have been asking for a long time, is 6-key and 8-key direct Braille entry. So I mean, I know those into the mainstream Braille translators that those exist, but as far as trying to do that in Word or in the PowerPoint or any of the drawing programs in Windows that may not be Braille friendly, this will allow you, if you know what you want, to just type it in. So, and have it print as Braille. So that was something that we did in this TSS 7 release. And the other piece, we've had a clipboard translator inside of TSS kind of hidden in there, but we completely rewrote it for this release. So, and the major thing that we added was now the ability to do back translate. So it has the back translate mode, as well as if you have larger files than you want to put on the clipboard, it can do by file. So you can back translate large BRF files or large text files directly to Braille without having to go through any other software. So this is just something that we've been kind of working on, because we get a lot of requests for people that they would love to take advantage of our interline text on top of the Braille that our ink printer or ink and Braille printer support, but all they have is the Braille. So this would allow you to back translate the Braille, the text, and retranslate it, and then enabling the inner point text. Or you have grade 1 and need grade 2, or grade 2 and need grade 1, or have English, American English Braille and want to go to UEB. So this allows you to translate and back translate much more easily than we've had in the past. So that, let's see, if we do get the demo to work again. So with the clipboard translator, you simply, from whatever program you're in, you select the clipboard, and then either copy or Control C, and then the clipboard does update. Oops. If you have it running. So it reads what's in the clipboard. So if no, I didn't have it running. So whatever I do there, and then I have it set for the grade 2 UEB, I can translate the text, and there it is. And if I want to see it in ASCII text versus ASCII Braille versus Braille dots, doesn't really matter. Those are just the view here, and it depends on how and then I paste it back in. It could do it as either the ASCII or the Braille here as well. So it's choosing the ASCII font. Since Word already has formatting built in, it'll just do it automatically, so you can quickly go through and just do things, especially if you're doing like text boxes for labeling graphics. It's easier than having the whole thing try to relay out by doing a full document translation. So it's just it's something that we know people use, but this is just much more streamlined than it used to be. And if you have some Braille and you don't know what it says, you can cut and paste it in there and back translate it if you know which language, which language and which contraction level it has. But you can back translate as well as by file. So, like I said, there's probably many more uses that you guys can think about than we've even thought of. But that is something that we know people have been asking for quite a while. Okay. So our areas of focus are really, we've been focused on, say the doing Braille transcription with Word and Excel on our own stuff, just because that allows you to easily mix Braille, Tatra Graphics, charts, tables, everything all together. So to fully access everything that we believe that you can do with our printers, we have that inside of our own software. But we do work with any of the standard Braille translator software. So Duxbury, Braille 2000, Braille Blaster, you know, any Braille translated software, even the old stuff that just prints out a text file to a port, we can also support. And that includes Braille note takers. So a lot of the Braille note takers, you know, they have USB and they just kind of print, again, standard text out, and we can use those. We have integrated with MathType for many years. That's how you can get math equations in, and then not only so you can see them for the print view, but also that will translate them into either Nemeth or UEB math Braille. And of course, we've always been Tatra Graphics, and so again, printing from any Windows program. You know, we include Tiger Designer within TSS for doing Tatra Graphics. We also work with any of the third-party ones, the main one being Tactile View. So, and I think I already mentioned a little bit, I mean, just the fact that we have ink is something that still people are, because it's not available in anyone else's products, I don't think everybody always realizes the full implication. But the more we see, especially with blind students, when they can print their homework and have it both be in Braille and in text, then it's something that they can then show to their parents or their classmates, or when they have the answers and come back and they can print for themselves, that they can share with the teacher. So just collaboration is something that is great for doing dual use documents, but what we see the really power is when it really gets into, especially a mainstream classroom or into a work environment where interaction is necessary, that just enables people to do things that they can't otherwise do. So the big secret of why it works is, well, we have a full featured Windows printer driver, as well as actually um, Linux one, because that's what's running on the Tiger box, as well as Mac driver. So anything you can print to a standard printer, you can print to our printer. And what it will do is convert the colors into a 7-dot height grayscale code based on the intensity of the color. So in this case, this is a print preview of the snowman that I showed earlier, which had a light gray fill and then the black outline. And so you can see the different dot heights. And so inside of Tiger Designer or Tiger Viewer, inside the printer driver, you can get this, you can see this information. So the other secret is, yeah, you can try all of this stuff without having access to one of our printers. So you can download the Windows printer driver. They're free off our website. You can also get a 30-day trial license of TSS. You know, so there's a free 30-day trial on that. And either one of those will install the Braille screen font, so you can just insert Braille into anything or translate it if you download TSS. But you can really see what it's going to look like before you waste a lot of paper. Or don't have to trust me that it's actually as easy as I say it is, since it's way easier than anything else I've seen for anybody else. But you know, the proof is in the pudding, and that's what we're allowing you to try for free, is being able to print a file without having one of our printers. You can get a very good idea of what it's going to look like. And what I'll show later is you can even send me that PRN file and we'll print it out to you and send it back to you if you don't have access to a printer. So that's why I say Tatra Graphics are easy. If you don't have to insert Braille in it, you just have to find an image that has enough contrast. So high resolution, you know, something like high contrast things for the low vision print really well. You don't have to only do line art, because that's all you get on the other guys' printers. But you know, if you want to have something, if it just looks like a big mess of muddled stuff on the print preview, it's going to feel like it too. But you can get a much better idea of what it's going to look like before you ever waste any paper. So on the cool stuff side of things, I've put together a training on teaching, you know, how to use math, or how to use Tatra Graphics to enhance math comprehension. And at the time, we'd pretty much just used MathType to create the equations. And and then we had our own online graphic calculator and things. But I found, like, doing that presentation, I kind of presented all of the tools, and then people told me about other ones that they had found that they were using that were useful, as well as kind of which ones most interested people. So from the highlights of this, the new tool is this Mathpix snipping tool, which is an OCR for math. And so you can have, if you have only printed versions of it, you can do, you can get the math out of printed versions and even handwritten versions. And they will plug directly into MathType. And on the graphing calculator side, the Desmos online calculator is one that is definitely available on mainstream and on some of the, I think it's on the HIMSS note taker and probably others as well. So Desmos is another one that they are working hard on accessibility. There's still some room for improvement, but that in general, right, if you are, before you have to start trying to figure out how to do plots in Excel, which you can get exactly what you want that way, but Desmos is a lot easier and has examples of almost every kind of math plotting that you would want to do, so you can get an idea of what you're actually looking at, and what it's supposed to look like as you start to try to streamline it and highlight it. So the online snipping tool is, you know, this Mathpix. I think you get 50 snips for free for the you know, per month, and then they want you to pay $5 or something for a subscription. So it's not, it doesn't break the bank. And what I had done before was I had the Wikipedia quadratic equation, which I used as the basis. I actually did linear equations, quadratic equations, and calculus, plotting calculus derivatives, the slope of the tangent line around. And so one, I had to remind myself what this stuff was as I was trying to reteach my daughter these things. And then how do I figure out what they look like? And how would I write up the equations and get them into Braille? And so that's where, you know, this thing is just a picture. It's not even helpful. I can't really, I could cut and paste it into Word, but it would just be a picture, which wouldn't do anything for me in terms of, it would work for the ink version, but it would just print out as a blob if I tried to do on the tactile side. But with the Mathpix tool, I can turn on the snipping thing and it gives me this little thing. And so then instead of, and select what I want, and it recognizes the equation immediately. So I have this as a PNG, so I can copy that and paste it into the Word document if I want. But it also does it in MathML, which the advantage of that is that it goes directly into MathType. So if I open up MathType, I can try to draw this or find one of the pre-canned ones, but I can also just paste that MathML in there, and now it's a MathType object. And this object will translate. So this is a MathType object. So it will print like this in the ink layer, but if I translate this document, it will create for me Braille based on how I tell it I want it to do it. But inside the profile, if I tell it I want Nemeth versus UEB math, so very, very quickly, hand drawing all the equations in MathType was a little bit painful. But yeah, once someone told me about Mathpix, that's an amazing time saving option. So that one, and then the other one that you know, I think that is very useful if you're still trying to figure out kind of what to draw and how these things work. Like I was doing quadratic equations, it's like I remember the quadratic formula, but I can't remember exactly what it was supposed to be doing. So if I look at different ones and I'm like, oh, the solutions. Okay, so the quadratic equations are the parabolas, and all of the teachers that teach this algebra at this level are like, of course it's the parabolas. So it's like, well, sorry, I forgot. I remember the equation solving the math part of it. I don't remember the visual part of it, but it does actually help when I was working with my daughter to show her what this meant was the solutions of the where it crossed the x-axis. So for x squared minus 4, the solutions are 2 and minus 2, which is exactly where it crosses the axis. For more complicated equations, it moves around, and so you get the solutions was where the crosses the axis. And when trying to explain slope intercept, it was to say, okay, well, mx plus b, well, they have these things called I can't remember what they're called. The sliders. The sliders. So you can look at what does it mean? What is slope? What does m as slope mean? And so like how is negative slope related to positive slope? So I can do things just so I can even remember how to do those, as well as the y-intercept. You know, what does that do? Okay, it just moves this thing up and down where it crosses the y. But if you aren't doing this stuff all the time, it's very helpful, and they have a ton of examples of lines, parabolas, trig stuff, conic sections, you know, anyway, all the way down to calculus. So there's a ton of examples inside of there, and you get what you want, and you can do, you know, you can print the image, which would do okay. The numbers wouldn't show up as anything, but they would try to draw those as numbers. There is some support. They're working on support. They have a lot of stuff in their accessibility. There's some sonification options and things like that. I go into this a lot more detail in the math presentation, but there is some exporting of the PNG for Braille embossers, where it does the Braille math as either Nemeth or UEB, and it will export this this PNG file in the right size. You know, PNGs with Braille in them don't really print Braille, since they're images. They don't print the Braille correctly. So we're still working with them a little bit on this, but they have been very open, and they do have a dedicated team of people working on accessibility options. So I would definitely say it's worth checking it out if you know you may be using this already, because a lot of schools are, but check out the accessibility page on their website and all the things you can do to help with a lot of different things. So if not just blind stuff, but there's a lot of other useful things on there in their tools. Okay. So other resources, there's a lot of stuff that we have on our downloads page and videos under our different printers. So there's a lot of stuff on viewplus.com, as well as our YouTube channel. If you're interested in learning more about Braille, the Braille Blaster is the new Braille transcription tool from APH. I put it first because it was free. So that's a new Braille tool that's worth checking out, and we are well supported inside of that. The Tatra Graphics image library, also from APH. They don't all print out great either. We're still working with them on how to make their PDFs actually print the Braille correctly, but the images work great. IREAT is our dealer here in the US, and they're doing Duxbury and Tactile View trainings, so you can check out what they've got over there, since they are the master seller for Duxbury and Tactile View in the US. And then Objective Ed has reached out to us, and they are offering free tools for teachers and for students. And so it's a special thing for a gaming system for learning for special ed kids. Hold on. So, and yeah, and if you know other ones, I'd be more than happy to share them out with the rest of the people on the webinar. And so, in other ways we can help. So if you want to see what PowerDot looks like, or compare Tiger graphics to Tiger Plus graphics, we would love to send out some free samples to you. So those are available. You can request under the embossers tab. There's request free samples, and probably other places all over our website. But yeah, so you can request free samples and select which printers you want to see them from. And we are also experimenting with, if you do not have access to a printer now that you're remote. We can be your remote printer. We don't have, we're not doing Braille transcription or those kind of, or fixing up the graphics. But if, so if you print a file and get us a PRN that you think looks good enough that you want to see the print version of it, yeah, we're working on ways that we could support printing Braille and Tatra Graphics and ink with the Tatra Graphics. But really, we'd like to teach you how to use the tools and then just send us the PRN file so that we can print it out for you. So other things are, we've updated the Taming the Tiger, which is our $250 online TSS7 kind of jumpstart training. We've updated that one to TSS7, and that is scheduled actually for next week. So we're doing those as a special for $99 instead of the $250. The other ones that I have that I could do that I'm trying to judge interest levels is, the more in-depth stuff on the TSS7 new applications. I have my Tatra Graphics in Minutes presentation that I've done quite a few times using Tatra Graphics for math, the Keeping the Curiosity Alive for the young blind learners, as well as if you want, it's probably more one-on-one trainings, but advanced training on getting the most out of your, your Max or your Columbia embosser if you have specific questions. And so, yeah, and then using Tigerbox to printing from mobile devices, as well as how to create tactiles with Aveo, and maybe more for our dealers, but how to do your own repairs on your ViewPlus embosser. So these are all things that we do every day. And of course, if you have other specific questions, feel free to send things into support@viewplus.com.